The Earth was dying. Humanity had reached a peak of civilization, only to have it cruelly dashed away by forces beyond its control. Earth would be uninhabitable within 200 years, frozen under a kilometre of ice. Generations had to give up their futures so that the chosen few might have a chance at continuing the species elsewhere. Other planets in the solar system would suffer the same fate, so a thorough reconnaissance of star systems in the immediate vicinity was required. And where trillions of units of currency had once been spent on war and conflict, now they were all invested in exploration. High-speed atomic space probes were launched, the pinnacle of humanity's engineering expertise. Their goal? To locate habitable planets, a sanctuary for the fortunate. But few suitable locales were found. Atmospheres that would poison, temperatures that would burn or freeze, gravity that would crush, and radiation that would kill within days or even months. They found worlds completely submerged in water, and worlds covered in oceans of boiling lava. Of the hundreds of possible systems, the list was pared down time and again, leaving only a handful emerging with planets that might be considered as destinations, and even on those, conditions would be harsh and unpleasant when compared to the slowly dying Eden humans called the Earth. Technology improved more rapidly in those years than at any time before in history, and yet the immutable laws of physics prevented voyages to the more distant systems. Perhaps if they had had more time, but time was a luxury humanity no longer enjoyed. Time and again, planets were struck from the list, a list that grew shorter with every passing day. Where compatible planets were found, colonies were planned in extraordinary detail. Ships laden with provisions and equipment were set out long before the colony ships themselves were even built. And still, they kept looking. Time grew short. Earth, for so many millennia the cradle of civilization, was turning against the creatures that roamed its surface. The temperature was dropping sharply every year. Ice creeping down from the poles, the oceans falling, ecosystems collapsing. Those left fought for survival, for the few resources that remained. The civilization crumbled around them. Those responsible for the evacuation kept looking for more homes, alternative places that might welcome migrants from their dying planet. Construction peaked in the creation of the colony vessels. These great cities in space carried those deemed worthy and tough enough to survive the decade-long journeys to other stars. Ships were equipped with every mechanism humanity could devise: terraforming, genetic manipulation, food production, energy creation. Every conceivable need was addressed. Humanity's greatest achievements were also their last. Vast, intractable technical difficulties were overcome, allowing just a handful of people to make the exodus to other worlds. Dim and distant in the lonely void, and far below, the Earth died. Arid, parched, freezing, burning, the atmosphere thinning, the oceans draining away. Untold millions were left behind, left to the cold, left to the dark, left to starvation and a lonely death on a dying world. Pestilence and famine marked those days, and few were left alive to witness the end. But it was then, when hope was at its lowest ebb, that the final planet was found. Azurio was in a terrifyingly close orbit around an angry red dwarf star known as the Chi 9352. The planet was bombarded by fierce infrared radiation. It might just be possible for a human civilization to survive on the world. Space probes reported an atmosphere and surface conditions on the extreme edge of compatibility. But it would be a strange and unusual place. The probes reported a magnetic flux more than 100,000 times as strong as that experienced on Earth, and red dwarf stars were not known for their stability. One final colony vessel remained. The ground-based facilities were overrun with people desperate to join the evacuation, and so it set out, with the cries and screams of the abandoned transmitted into space on radio waves that would travel the void for eternity. They were the last emissaries of a lost civilization, leaving a frozen wasteland behind them, journeying through a radiation-haunted emptiness in search of an unlikely sanctuary. The planet they discovered was not like the Earth. It was tidally locked, one side forever facing the ruddy glow of the star Lakai, with the other plunged into unremitting darkness. It was a world of eternal sunrise and everlasting sunsets, sunward and shadeward. There was life upon the surface, carbon-based and compatible with humanity, but it was very different from anything experienced before. Gone were the luscious greens and blues of Earth, replaced with strange, alien colours. The air pressure was too low, the gravity even lower. To the weary, desperate and disenchanted occupants of the colony ship, it became clear they could never set foot upon this world unaided, cursed by their adaptation to the lost environment of Earth. But humanity could be adjusted to thrive upon the surface. The sons and daughters of the brave voyagers grew up in isolation, separated from their parents by airlocks and pressure seals, by the biology of their birth. Those children became the first to live upon the surface, a generation after the colony survived. They began to thrive, subjugating and exploring the strange and wonderful new world they had inherited. And as those aboard the colony ship aged, began to fade away, those far below became at last self-sufficient. And there came a day that the colony ship in orbit no longer answered the calls of those on the ground. It passed into sad recall, recall into story, and story into ancient lore. But in all their planning, they had overlooked one thing. Early in the first few centuries, a cataclysm overtook the planet. 9/10 of the colonists died in a holocaust of unimaginable ferocity. A barely recognizable civilization finally staggered back, feudal and anarchic. What little technology remained was perceived as magic or religious power, its origin misunderstood. And thus wars were fought, empires rose and fell. The civilization slowly emerged from a dark age longer than any known before. And those who understood even a little of the past grew to be great and powerful. Kiri, a girl from the slums, born in poverty in the city of Drayden, is caught stealing in the grounds. Pursued by the righteous sons of the guards, her punishment of court is death. Only this day, in a city built around a temple to the star god Lakai, the high priestess of Drayden mysteriously intervenes. Cold and aloof, mysterious, and possessed of strange powers only they could wield, passed down the female line. They formed a matriarchy, controlling a vast empire. They were ruthless, convinced of their own exalted destiny and superiority. They would subjugate Azurio and bend its people to their will, serving, so they believed, the will of their god, the blazing light above, the star, Lakai. Those in their way would be purged, and those who did not comply, vanquished. And the slum girl Kiri, she was rescued from certain death. And around her great and terrible deeds would the legacy of the colonists be written.
The terribly knowledge that they raised in Bosman.